And we're live here today
Okay.
with DK Dreamkeeper. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on to the Dream Dojo with me today. Talk a little bit about your journey into dream work and what got you started, some beginner tips, advanced advice, and just what's going on in your life. Please introduce yourself.
All right, man. I'm DK Dreamkeeper. Uh, I started out as an artist, but I've been exploring the dream realm since I got into lyricism and poetry, and the theme has always been prevalent in my music. So you could dig back 15 years and find old songs where I'm talking about lucid dreams and Einstein's relativity and stuff like that. And I finally brought it to the world.
Awesome. So you said 15 years now? That's been your practice?
Let me think, more than 15 years actually, man. I started rhyming when I was 12. Really. I didn't record anything till I was like 13, 14. So I'm almost going on 20 years because I'm 31 now. So
Awesome. Awesome.
that's crazy.
You're over the
I know.
hill, man. After that 30, it's all down. No, I'm just kidding. I'm 29, so I got to give you a little bit of shit. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, it seems like time. I don't know about you, but time seems to be speeding up for me anymore. It's like, the years are flying by. I guess now that I think
Yeah.
about it, I was probably about 14 when I really got into it. So I'd say it's probably been about 15 years for me too. But on and off for sure. So tell us a little bit more about what really woke you up to the potential of your dreams and what got you started down this path. I know you mentioned music. I've listened to a lot of your music. I enjoy it myself. I'm a fan of all genres and especially rap. um
Me
so yeah,
too.
maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that and what that looks like in terms of your dreams.
Yeah, well, I mean there's a lot to unpack there. But it did the screen just shift? But it
Yeah,
wasn't.
it's just me, bro. I'm just making you do a reality check real quick.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's beautiful. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't just honestly, hip hop was a big part of it because I lost you. Where'd you go?
I'm still here. I just got you on the
Oh,
on the
okay.
center stage.
Oh, okay. My bad. I'll stop. I'll stop. Yeah, hip hop was a big part of it because a lot of people don't know. Like when they tell me what I do is so unique, the conscious aspect has always been a part of underground hip hop. So a lot of MCs that talk about a lot of these things that we're interested in. That's like the main topics in their songs. I can name off a million. I could rattle off a million songs and artists and hip hop. Conscious hip hop is kind of what bridged the gap between all of these esoteric studies and my music. And but it wasn't what really got me into dreams. What really made me start exploring them was trying to control my nightmares. I had bad nightmares about Freddy Krueger, and I talk about that in a video. But it was Stephen LaBerge was, I think, Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming was the first book I really got my hands on that got me deep into it, and Astral Projection and the Nature of Reality, and then a few more. And then I was just reading a lot of Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra self-help books, and all that stuff kind of took me in that direction, and I've always incorporated it into my music. And I haven't had any trouble with nightmares since I learned how to become lucid. I don't have nightmares.
That's dope. Why do you think that is?
It might just, again, I kind of like you. It's been on and off for me. I mean, I've always been interested in it. I've always read about this stuff. I got a pretty decent library of books, and but there's I don't remember all my dreams. Like you were saying, like I mean, for me personally, some like if I stop smoking every day, all of a sudden I start remembering every dream every night. But then it'll go back to normal for me until if I pick it back up, it's almost like the shift in the brain state. Like for a few weeks, just your brain experiencing something different. For me, at least, it's like it needs to be more vigilant, so maybe I'm remembering my dreams more. And maybe I do have nightmares, and I just selectively don't remember them. I don't know, honestly. I know if I do
Yeah,
any
man,
if
it's
I did
interesting
have
that
one.
nightmares.
Sorry, I know if I did have one, I would definitely conquer that though, for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say nightmares are what got me into it as well.
Hmm.
Freddy Krueger, perfect dream villain because he works in the realm of dreams, right?
Right.
And I've heard a lot of people say that they enjoy their nightmares because their normal dreams are so boring. And if
Really.
you're one of those people out here listening to this, then you must not know what actually scares you
Right. Right. I agree.
because there's a true fear and there's nothing enjoyable about
Right.
that. There might be lessons to learn. There might be, dragons to battle, but I wouldn't call it fun. If you're having fun, then maybe you got a sense of humor or something. But I've had some
I don't.
pretty carnal nightmares, where it made me think like, damn, does that actually happen? Like, are there people like that out there? Has somebody experienced that in reality? And it just,
Oh,
as beautiful as dreams can be, I think starting with work or meaning from your nightmares, I think it's a really humbling experience, and it teaches
yeah.
you that you're not always in control. You don't necessarily have to be, but you are in control of how you respond. And that's
Oh
where I
yeah.
started discovering I could conquer my nightmares, was not letting it get the best of me, control my reaction. And maybe you want to talk a little bit more about that, but
Yeah,
nightmares are a good
man.
reality check. They're a good trigger for lucidity for me because it's really emotional, but I'm not always able to control that experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people go lucid and don't have control over their dreams because there's levels to lucidity, but yeah, I feel like you said, if there's a difference between experiencing perceivably scary things, whether it's like, flames or skulls or a grim reaper. If that's not your fear, then that's not a real nightmare. So like those people must not there's a difference. You can have what would commonly be called a scary themed dream, but that doesn't mean you're scared. And if you're not scared, then it's not a nightmare. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what
like I
what the
like horror
environment.
movies. You know what I mean? I
Right,
like
right.
horror movies. Maybe they like horror dreams, but not all horror
Exactly.
movies really actually scare me.
Yeah, it's not about that.
You feel me?
Exactly. Yep.
But
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah.
down
Yeah, but
that
I feel
stream
like,
of consciousness, what's your favorite scary movie?
man, honestly, dude, like I, I don't really like scary movies. My girl's into scary movies. I'll watch them and they're cool, but like the scariest movies to me are documentaries about real dark things that happen. That's a scary movie to me. All the other
Yep,
ones, I
I
mean, they're
agree.
cool and they're fun, but like it's kind of like most of it's cheesy to me. I like some cheesy stuff. Like I appreciate all the classics, and I do like the Freddy movies. And I used to watch them when I was a little kid so much back to back. That's why, obviously I started having the nightmares. But I still like them. But what's my favorite? I don't know. Devil's Rejects. Like I don't know. Does that count?
Devil's Rejects. I feel like I should know that one.
Yeah, man. Rob Zombie. Yeah, if not, definitely watch it. But I don't know, man. I'm horrible with movies. I don't. I mean, I know some classics, and I used to watch movies kind of when I was younger, but I don't really watch movies, man. I don't watch much. I haven't seen any Netflix like series. Never saw Game of Thrones or any of those type of anything. I saw Seinfeld back when I was a kid because my mom used to watch it every day. So I've seen that. Sopranos back when my
Dude,
dad watched it. But
you're such an interesting guy, man. I feel like we would get along a lot. I actually I don't watch much of shit anymore either. I used to be really big movie buff. Like I got that from my dad. But then I fell into
right,
like the whole dark side of Hollywood rabbit hole, and I realized how much we worship these false idols and became
yeah,
really disenchanted with the whole thing. I realized it's all just entertainment meant to like drain you of your actual life force. That
right,
might sound like an exaggeration, but I mean it's energy you spend on
yeah,
these things. And when you start to have dreams with the same themes of the content that you're consuming, you reflect back on what you're exposing yourself to more.
right,
That's why I like
right.
asking people about scary movies because it's like, why would you torment yourself psychologically? And it's funny you say
Yeah.
that your girl's into scary movies because I'm the exact opposite. My wife will not watch scary movies. And I used to love it. And then I had
Yeah,
a really fucked up dream. Actually, I had a few really fucked up dreams. And it changed just it really did
yeah.
change the way I look at um, that type of stuff. So, yeah, to answer my own question, I would say Scream is my favorite scary movie
I was gonna
because
ask. Yeah.
it's a real life scenario. It's like it could be just one of your friends. It's who you least expect could be the killer hanging out with you with a mask on.
I can't because I'm
And
like, yo, I would punch that dude in the throat. Like, get out of here with your big butcher
yeah,
knife.
I
It's
know.
not even a good knife.
Pick up the gun.
It's not even a good knife to kill someone with. A steak knife would be more efficient. Like, get out of here with that big blocky.
Fair
No,
enough.
man. I feel
I
you
agree.
though, but I don't know.
Scream
Like, so
sucks.
many of them, they're not convincing. So the ones I enjoy are the ones that are almost funny. You know.
Okay. What about Saw? What about like
Okay.
a thriller?
Saw is great. I love Saw just because I love the concept of like the puzzles and stuff.
Yeah,
But
I'm getting a lot of hate in the comments for Scream, so I had to redeem myself real quick. Fuck that.
that's my
Saw.
sister. No,
So I
yeah.
have to share an opinion, man. People will eat you up.
Something
Drop your
interesting
favorite
about
movie in the comments, please. Whoever's watching.
so,
Let
something
us know.
interesting about Saw is that I must say if I do like if there's one show that I ever really fell in love with, it was the Twilight Zone back in the day, the black and white
Cool.
episode. They would play it every year on New Year's. They would play it for like 24 hours straight. They would play the episodes and those episodes are very, very well thought out. Rod Sterling is a genius. He's the writer. And one of his episodes is what the Saw series is based off of and inspired by. And there's one
Oh shit,
episode
that's
where
cool.
it's very interesting, and it's it's way back in it must be like the 40s or the 50s or something. But if you watch it, you'll see it's where they got their whole concept from. Really interesting.
I've sought that show out actually because when I found out what Twilight actually meant, it was like
Right,
one of the most fascinating things. It's that liminal space between night and day. And
right,
it can
right,
happen in the morning before the sun comes up or at night after the sun goes down. And
right.
vampires can be scary too. But I think when you really start to get into the Twilight Zone, it's more about psychological thrills than it is like supervillains and bad guys.
Right. Yeah. When I say Twilight Zone, I'm not talking about Twilight.
Yeah,
Let me be
I know. I had to
okay.
clarify there. Somebody said they
Okay.
grew up watching that in the chat, actually. They said it affected them as a child and a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Honestly, I
great
love it. I
show.
love the black and white vibes too. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, talking a little bit about media, I know art is what kind of got you into dream work, right? Let's kind of get back
Mm-hmm.
into how you wove that into a practice. Was it that dreams had such a profound impact on you that you had to start expressing it through different types of media, like your music? Tell us a little bit more about what that journey's looked like.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I never thought about it and it wasn't intentional. It's kind of just something I've always done. It's always been a part of me. And I've never even had like a mentor or like a heavy influence. It's just I really don't know what to do. I must say I was into it all for a long time, and then around the time when I was like 18 or 19, I started reading the Bible a lot. I wasn't getting into religion whatsoever. It wasn't like that, but I mostly so I would be able to argue. with a lot of the religious people around me. And but I read the book of Daniel, and obviously I was paying extra attention when I was going through that. And the book, Daniel was the interpreter of dreams for Nebuchadnezzar, and a lot of the messages in that resonated with me, and it wasn't like I had some divine intervention, but it was a small revelation. And I don't know, that's when I started calling myself DK Dreamkeeper. I started out when I was first rapping, I was just young DK. And I a lot of I had a lot of acronyms for DK, and only one of them was Dreamkeeper. And I made a song called Dreamkeeper when I was real young, but I didn't fully embrace it until I was a little bit older. I did the Dark Knight thing for a while, and like didactic kinetics was one of the things. And I don't know, it wasn't necessarily the book of Daniel from the Bible. It was just around that time in my life, and also like separating from that teenage angst, and just the problems of puberty. I felt like I kind of had to grow up, and a lot of the things that I was into for a while, especially with the rap, the hip hop scene, and just being young, I kind of evolved away from that. My son was born, and then like everything changed. Like I wasn't. If you listen to my old music, there's a lot of violence. Like I'll be honest, a lot of it's cringe if I share it now, not just because of the audio quality, but I mean my lyrics were always there, but I was violent for a while. So I calmed down and embraced, what I felt was a more positive direction in life.
That's really cool, man. I'm glad that you can admit that evolution of consciousness. Sorry, let me jump back in here.
No, you're
Um,
good.
I mean, talking about rap influences, I mean, I used to love Eminem, and I remember being young enough to where my parents, got me an album, played one song, and confiscated it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that was damn, what album was that? I'm trying to think back now. I'll think about it and I'll let you know. But that was back when I got a stereo for Christmas, and I'm showing my age now, not quite 30. But I had a stereo, and it was like the
Yeah.
hottest shit just to have my own, as a kid, just to have my own stereo. I could throw a CD in and listen to what I wanted. Now we're so blessed with
Right.
technology, we can listen to any song whenever we want. But
It's
back
crazy.
when you supported an artist, right? Isn't that crazy how much that's changed since we grew up?
It's insane.
Man, that's why I feel it's so important to almost like document what we're talking about now. It's because how much is going to change even in the next few years.
Yep.
But
Drastically.
anyway, I love Eminem. I
Me
still do. I
too.
think he's very talented.
Me too.
Um, if I got to name a list, I'm stereotypical white guy naming Eminem as one of the best rappers of all time. But I do like Snoop, Lil Wayne, and a few other names. Actually, that's evolved a lot over time itself, right? But based on where I was at
Right.
in my life, I mean, I was a big Mac Miller fan. I really fucked with Kanye for a while, and like I've gone through different phases, but I wouldn't consider myself too deep into any genre. I mean, I live in Appalachia now,
Right.
so it's
That's
blasphemous to
beautiful.
listen to that kind of music. I mean, there's people with like local bluegrass groups, who get around and play the banjo. I mean, that's the type of environment I've put myself in,
I get
and
it.
intentionally so. But music really does reflect a lot about who we are and what we have to say. I think language in and of itself is so expressive. So
Yeah.
taking that and turning it from not just meaning at the superficial level, but now you're adding sound, that the element
Right.
of sound with rhythm and flow is what I really love. When an artist has flow and can take the same sound and manipulate it in different ways to create a different effect, that's to me that's mastery of language. And
I agree.
um
I
that's what I like
agree.
about Eminem. But I really like your music actually too, man. I think it has a really polished sound. It's funny, a lot of artists you can listen to them talk, they don't really sound how they perform, but it's because
Right.
you almost step into that persona, and it's really fun to listen to be honest to you.
Hmm.
I don't know enough about your music, but I've listened to I think one whole album and just had it going while I was running around doing stuff around the house.
I
And
appreciate
I've
that.
even entertained the idea of you and I getting together on a live like this and freestyling. And
Right,
it's
right.
by no means because I have experience freestyling. I mean, me and my cousin Josh used to smoke up and listen to
Yeah,
some beats and just express ourselves.
yeah,
And I think
man, me
everybody
too.
has that ability, man, to just tap into that stream of consciousness and let it flow. Don't be embarrassed about what you say because what you say is what you're thinking about. What you're thinking about is what's going on in your life, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's like it's a ability
When
you
you're
can tap into,
freestyling, you get the liberty to say some dumb shit, you know? It's like it's all right, you know. Everyone knows that.
especially
Someone
when you're
here,
smoking. It's cool.
especially, that's what makes it fun. We used to do long ass freestyles of nothing but yo mama jokes, and we would record them on cassette tapes, and we would play the
Damn.
beat. Yeah, yeah. That's how old
All
it
right.
is.
So what's
Yeah.
your best yo mama joke? I'm in some dad joke pages. I gotta share some gems.
Yo, I
I'm like
haven't
real
done
deep
yo
in.
mama jokes since I was 13 years old.
There's got to be one that still just slaps. I mean, I remember like watching fucking Fez on MTV talking about your mama neck looked like a triple stack of pancakes on, something stupid
Right,
like that.
right. No,
But I'm gonna let you.
I must be
Go ahead.
honest, I did recently have a Yo Mama battle, and it was with my son, and his obviously his mother wasn't
about
there.
his mom or his grandmom?
His mama, but obviously she wasn't in the room when we did it. But I don't know, man. I was Googling them. I don't even remember. I don't save straight to
Yo,
my brain for
yo,
that.
speak of the devil. My cousin Josh just hopped in the chat. That
Okay.
is funny. I love those synchronicities. Josh,
Right, though? There
tell
you
him
go.
about tell him about how our freestyle battles will go, man. That's embarrassing. You talk about cringe. But let's get back to the conversation at hand. I think music is a great way of expressing yourself. Writing in general, of course. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
someone said there's a mathematical component to music, and classical is extremely mathematical.
beautiful, Elaine. Thank you for sharing that. It's so
Yeah.
true, and I think that's why plants like classical music.
Right,
I think that's why people do too. I listen to a lot of like nursery rhymes and stuff that they incorporate that with kids, and they know what they're
right.
doing, man. It's magic almost. Somebody
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
"Laugh out loud." Our freestyles would be kind of cringe, but definitely fun. I
They
mean,
always are.
dude, that's a good memory right there. I'm telling you.
I get
Um,
it.
so tell
Me and
us a
my
little bit
brother.
more about your music, man, because I really mean that when I said I enjoy what you were putting out, and the fact that you said it's evolved over time to reflect your evolution of consciousness. I think it's so cool. You talk about how Einstein inspired you, and then getting to know the Bible just so you could play better as devil's advocate. I mean, those are all things
Right,
that like strike a chord if we're going to stick with a
right,
musical metaphor.
right.
So please tell us a little bit more about that. We've already been going for what about 25 minutes, so
Okay,
we'll say we're at the halfway point, and then in
yeah,
about 20 more minutes we'll start taking some questions, and
okay.
open up the chat. That way, if anybody sticks around, we can talk to them a little bit more too.
That works. I didn't even share this to the Dreamkeeper page yet, but I'm gonna do that right now.
Yeah, man,
So
we've got 6 people watching.
beautiful, beautiful. And I know a few people that are gonna watch the replay for sure. So
Yeah, so if you are here, thanks for joining in. Feel
yeah,
free to pop your comments as we talk. We try to keep the flow going and then address any questions at the end. But by all means, um, follow along. Yeah, so definitely a great memory. Could definitely try it again and see how much better we've gotten. I've gotten worse because it's like a skill I haven't practiced.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I
You
I
got
used to
that.
live in like a thesaurus, so I could say something in different ways but make it rhyme better.
Hmm.
I'm really also and this is in writing too. This isn't just about freestyling. It's like
Right.
repetition is a really big trigger for me. I feel like if you repeat yourself, it should be intentional. Even in
Dude.
my mind, I'm saying repetition, repeat, and that's the same thing. It's like I should have found a better word to replace it with.
Well, that's why like half of those rappers that you named, I was like, damn, okay, because that's what they do. But okay, except Eminem. Not that he doesn't do that shit. But yeah,
See, I if you're gonna come at me for Mac Miller because I saw you laugh a little bit, you need to
no,
listen to
not Mac
Blue
Miller.
Slide Park. Blue Slide Park.
Listen,
That was my shit.
Mac Miller, I've listened to a lot of his stuff. Trust me, I was listening to him before he even really blew up.
Hmm.
And it's cool. And it's cool. And I'm not mad at Mac Miller at all. Bless his soul. I mean that. I mean that. I
Yeah,
just
man. It's cool that you know that.
as much as I listen to it, I can't. It's not something I choose to go put on, but like I'm not mad at Mac Miller at all,
Somebody
honestly.
said I remind them of Jimmy. It's funny because that was like a fake name I went by.
You
My name's
do.
Jesse. My name's Jesse, and I would always joke that my name was James because everybody says Jesse James when they first meet me. So Jimmy, James, Jesse, anything with the J is cool with me. Nice to meet you, Carly. I'm enjoying our conversation. Your brother's a really cool guy. Um, so please tell us a little bit more about your music because I really do think it's worth putting it out there. What's the message you want to relay through your sound, and how's that different from some of the other music that exists out there? Because a lot of people think they can make music, and unless you can really relay your message, I feel like it falls on deaf ears.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, through the ages, I've gotten better at making my message clear without 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 too much filler, because I used to be like I would be, I was in the dictionary too, and I was all about finding every word that could rhyme with every other word in every way. And I was known for having 6, 8, 10-minute songs, and even when I worked with a dude who was producing for me, he used to always just try to get me to make my song shorter. And I'm like, but I'm not just saying these words because they rhyme, but I can make them make sense, it can tell the story. And that just came, I had a lot to say. I was a teenager, and I didn't want to limit my potential at all. I figured, put it out there. But over the years, just more naturally, I've gotten a lot better at becoming laconic with it, like saying more by saying less, and it makes it more clear for people. And for the longest time, I had the I don't give a fuck attitude. Like, I'm making this music for me. Music was more therapy. Music has always been my therapy. So writing, I sit and write to it, releases something in me. If I don't write, I go crazy. So like I didn't care what anyone thought. I was just, and if you listen to a lot of my old stuff, it was a lot more emotional. But I was a teenager again, and I'm not emotional anymore. But it's a different life. And I feel like if I want people to understand me, if I'm making it, why not try to reach more people? It can only help. And once I realized I had something to say too, also. So I don't know. So I started making things more concise and more clear. And it's all about being conscious. I mean, I would say the music's all about being conscious. It's not all positive, but it's not all negative either. I used to want to make, like, every time I made an album, I'd be like, all right, I need a pumped up, like a workout or a fighting song, a song that I could put on when I'm about to go into a fight. And then I need a smoking song for cruising and smoking. And then, I need a love song. And then, and I used to like try to shape everything around that. And then over time, it's just like, instead, I just do what I'm thinking instead of trying to fit any type of mold. And as I try to find me more, or as I express myself more, I find myself more, you know, and just embrace that more, and then lean into it. And I don't know.
That's cool, man. Um,
Did I
what do you
answer your
feel like?
question? I don't even know.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Most certainly. Um, my biggest takeaway was you make music for you, and you don't really care what anybody thinks about it. And I feel like that's a great way to be. And at the same time, you teach people just through your example that it's cool to be comfortable in your own skin. And I think that's a beautiful message in and of itself. Um,
Yeah, it's also important to make sure that you're saying something though, because like you said, words have power, and I've always understood that. I've been learning about that for a long time. Someone here mentioned that I can't find it now, but they mentioned about music and how it affects the plants. And I've mentioned before about Masaru Emoto's Messages from Water, the book by Masaru Emoto. I'm sure you've seen at least the memes about it
Yeah, I've
or the
done the
pic.
rice experiment actually.
Yeah, okay,
Have you ever?
okay, yeah. Yep. Much easier, simpler experiment. Yeah. I
So
want to do that
if
with
you guys
kids.
aren't familiar, basically he's talking about a guy who started proving that water, I would argue, is conscious because it can absorb energy and it basically feeds off our emotions. And just like every snowflake is different, every teardrop itself has a different chemical composition. It's like the emotional charge of your feelings makes the water look differently under a microscope. But he proved it, and he showed all types of imagery with sound, and one of the more famous home experiments I've heard about, and
Hmm.
I encourage you to try, is to take a jar of cooked rice and take a pot of cooked rice and put it into two jars, and take a piece of duct tape. And actually, if you want to be legit, get three jars because one should be the control group.
Right.
So put a piece of duct tape and a marker and mark each one. Mark one with love, mark one with hate, and leave the other one alone. Put them all in a relatively similar place, but make it so that you see them and you think love and you feel love and you exhibit love and you love that jar of rice. You'd still eat that jar of rice. It tastes so good. It gives you sustenance. And then you see the hate jar and you think, oh, that's just nasty. I need to throw that away. That's dirty. I'm not eating that. It'll make me sick. Hate.
Hmm.
And then the last one, it's just there. You don't really pay it any mind, and you just see how the rice evolves over time. Because what does rice do? It's cooked with water. It
Right.
absorbs that moisture, it absorbs the energy. And what I found was that the hate got real nasty real quick, and the love lasted a lot longer than even the plain jar did. And I have no idea why.
Well, you have some
I guess
idea.
I have some idea. Yeah, yeah, I got some idea why.
I mean, and the same thing
I can't
works
explain
with
it though.
music. So the same thing works with music. It's all vibration, intention, energy. Binaural beats and isochronic tones are great for meditation and healing too. I don't know if you've ever played with binaural beats, but they're interesting. They're fun.
Yeah, I have. I used them a lot when I was trying to wild, and I've never really had a wake induced lucid dream. I feel like I've gotten
Mm,
really close, but I have had an interesting experience. I'll tell you this story really quick. I
mm,
like listening to music as I fall asleep. It helps my brain kind of shut off. Like I said, I have trouble falling asleep some nights. So instead of the television or scrolling on my phone, I throw on some music, and I found what works best for me is music without lyrics. So like ambient sounds, a
mhm.
little more entertaining than like white noise, for example. And I've actually talked with Elaine, if she's still in the comments, a bit about like brown noise and different frequencies that have an effect on how you feel. And so,
Right.
um, one night I was falling asleep, and I mean, I'm big on my routine because if I don't hit all the check boxes, I'm having a hard time, just winding down for bed. Like I feel almost most productive at this odd hour, 10 o'clock to midnight, and then like it takes me a couple hours to wind down. But then 4 or 5 o'clock, I feel like I should be up doing something, getting a head start on the day before anybody else wakes up. So when
Right.
I say I'm a night owl, it's
Me
almost
too.
like I'm a night owl and an early bird,
Me
whatever
too.
gives me, and it's a part of that bedtime, reverse bedtime procrastination where
Hmm.
you want to just steal back a little bit of time for yourself and maybe
Exactly.
at the compromise of true productivity or efficiency because we're not well rested as we should be.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Evidence shows.
I, I got my watch, I got my ring, I got my sleep mask, I got my headphones, and my wife is amazing. Actually, she got me a sleep mask that has headphones in it. But I got to charge that. So usually I just
That's nice.
go old school. And I was listening to these ambient sounds one night, and I actually stumbled across lucidity. I did become lucid in this dream. And I remember thinking while I was conscious within the dream, what happened to my music? Like I know that shit was charged. I had it playing. It was going. It was on. Did it fall off my head? What happened?
Right.
And as I began to transition out of being asleep, and I felt myself awakening, the music started to fade back, and the volume increased
Mm.
until it resumed, and I was mind blown. I woke up like, holy shit! Like I heard it. Like if somebody took the knob and turned it
Right.
off and
Right.
on, and it actually never stopped in real life, but my perception of it did.
You tuned out and
And
tuned in. Yeah.
makes me think about attention and attention blindness and how we ignore things that we're constantly exposed to. It speaks volumes to um, complacency and how you zone out on that drive home from work because you're on autopilot.
Right. So I gotta ask you then, and I don't want to take it too crazy and jump too deep, too far off the cliff here, but like, so where do we go when we're dreaming? What do you think?
Recently, recently people have been trying to convince me it's a real place. Like Bobby Wiggins was talking to me earlier about astral projection. He was like, there's no difference when you're lucid dreaming, you're going to a real place. When you're astral projecting, you're going to the real place that sits like a filter over top of this, physical world.
The
And
astral realm, they say. Yeah.
and I feel like maybe we're just getting caught up in what we perceive as definitive language because conscious experience, subjective conscious experience is all we really have to measure, the astral realm. And I'm not discrediting the collective unconscious archetypes that form the reality we all share. But I think when you're experiencing it, it is your perception of reality. While that's shaped by others, yes, at the same time, you're shaping it yourself, yes, consciously and unconsciously. And to what extent you can walk that line and exert your will is what determines your own role in physical existence. I know a long way around, but I don't know
No,
if I
I
have
agree.
proof otherwise. One thing I will say though is recently I lost my father, and I did have a premonition about his death 10 days
Hmm.
before it happened, and it was like an irregular dream. I had dreams about my dad all the time. I never had a dream like that,
Right.
and it kind of changed the way I look at dreams. Like, first of all, the logical part of me um, wants to rationalize. Well, if something was wrong that led to his undoing, then maybe unconsciously I perceived that, recognized that something was going on,
I
and
get
wanted
it.
to make that connection with my conscious brain. That's sort of like my working definition of nightmares. They're trying to unconsciously bring something to light.
There's definitely
And
something to that. Yeah.
at the same time though, it's like, damn, how much don't we know that our brain is just kind of keeping score,
Right.
you know?
I mean,
So
we know
so
time is malleable. We know time is not fixed. So
exactly. Like the studies that show dreams pass just like waking life, a second for a second, a minute for a minute. But
right.
your minute's not my minute. Our seconds aren't the same.
That's tough, man. That's really tough. That's one that I've been wanting to talk to a lot of different people about. Because yeah,
Mm,
all the experiments do show that time is just about the same while people are dreaming. But I've experienced dreams that felt like years. But all evidence shows that you're and maybe it's just because those people were consciously lucid dreaming, and the people would like there's a bunch of different experiments for it, but like they'll play a ticking clock next to the person while they're sleeping, and when the person becomes lucid, especially if they train that sound as a dream trigger, when they become lucid, they'll hear that ticking clock in their dreams and they'll move their eyes with the at this with the clock, and we can see them moving their eyes, the people observing them, and they're moving it right along with the clock. So like obviously they're not experiencing some hyper sped up or slowed down version, but maybe that's only because they're lucid at that moment and they're trying to tap in. And then also, like, I know there was one great story I heard about. I don't even know who it was. It was some French uh someone from way back in the day. It was like 1700s. Some French man. I'd have to look it up again. But he thought that dreams, you could experience a lifetime in 10 minutes in your dream because he had he had this dream where he had murdered someone and gone through all these different things where they locked him up. He tried to get away. They had him in chains. They were feeding him scraps, and it felt like it lasted a long time. And he had a whole storyline shaped around it, and then the whole dream led up to him at the guillotine, and then the guillotine dropped and made like a loud chopping sound, and that chopping sound woke him up, and it was something falling off of. It was like a picture that fell off of his wall. So he was like, in that split second that picture fell off of the wall, his brain was able to conjure up an entire storyline preceding that event, which is
That's
interesting,
such
but
a great story. Such a great
it's just
story.
one anecdote though. It's not
Yeah,
evidence.
I've got a similar story to that. Um, and I know for a fact it's like time is not linear. It's that our mind can hear something and reverse rationalize what made that sound. It's like when my baby was first born and I went to the grocery store, every squeaky cart, every, step of the shoe
Yeah.
sounded like a baby crying. For
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
reason, it was like I had this heightened sense, and it was like my brain just made this false association because it was safer to assume, that's a noise you need to pay attention to. And
Right.
it makes you wonder how much of our reality are we just simulating based on our own mental projections.
Right. Yeah. State of
Because
mind.
I agree, it went backwards. I went one time, I was trapped in a nightmare and I was trying to wake up, and I really wanted somebody from my phone. I had my phone in the dream and it wasn't working, and I was like, I need
Mm.
somebody to like somebody who works with dreams to feel me on this one. Like if something like this can happen, please wake me up. And I got a ping. I got a notification that sent a sound to my phone, and it woke me up. And it must have been a matter of seconds where I was just kind of like squinting my eyes, waking up, checked my phone, and it had been 3 minutes. 3 minutes. That might not seem like much time dilation,
No. Yeah.
but I mean 3 seconds to 3 minutes. And it felt instantaneous, like me waking up, kind of opening my eyes, checking my phone, 3 minutes. And
Hmm.
it makes you wonder, if we didn't have clocks, how would we measure time? Would it just be day and night? Would we live more natural cycles? You
I
know?
feel you. But people measure time way before clocks. So they had I mean sundials and lots of other ways through the
Now I
meaning
feel
of
like
the
we measure
day.
time by work. It's like a week is just a Monday through Friday job. A 9 to 5 is when you're supposed to be unavailable because you're doing something productive, and then the
It's funny.
weekends are when you can take a break.
I gotta, because I have a friend who's probably gonna end up watching this, so I gotta quote him from way back in the day when we used to work together. He said, "Life is just a series of Fridays with a bunch of bullshit in between." Because we were always waiting to get paid on Friday. So I get what you're saying, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
dude. I mean,
my favorite my favorite quote is "Life sucks, and then you die." Make the most of it. Just like, you know what I mean? Don't wait
yeah,
for Friday to live your life, man. It's like Tuesday could
right.
feel like Friday if you wanted to.
Yeah, and
But
me and him weren't
budget
we
better.
weren't living like that, but it's just noticing how people are just constantly you're constantly waiting for that Friday. I mean, not I can't relate to that anymore whatsoever. I embrace every moment, but I get it. When you're stuck in the rat race like that, it's
Yeah,
tough.
it's true. It's you have to synchronize your clocks. That's how society works, right? That's why people show up to work and do the jobs that need to get done, so there's food on the table, and we all survive. But maybe without the numbers, we would just look to the sky and go, okay, now it's time to start winding down, or
Right.
let's think about safety, right? Because now we're vulnerable. It's dark. We can't see as well. Predators are out. Let's
Right.
huddle together, and really share our stories and make sure we're learning from our experiences. Now I feel like, we live in this artificial reality where we could keep the lights on and trick our brain to some extent, but it's not as good as the real thing.
It's not
Um,
as good as the real thing, but like, and you're right, and I'm well aware of like, the blue light issues that a lot of people are having. But has that caused us to exponentially advance as far as technology goes? Like me and you probably wouldn't be talking right here, right now, if people weren't able to work under these bright lights. So like, there's good and the bad, is all I'm saying with that. Another thing I wanted to say, I've had dreams where I felt like I experienced a whole lifetime in a dream because someone said time is definitely different in dreams. So, one way I've heard it explained from someone, and it did kind of make sense to me. Like I said, I woke up from a dream like I wanted to cry because I felt like I was going to miss the people that I'd spent so much time with. Like it really felt like a lifetime. I had memories, past memories in that dream. So like, how could that how could that happen in one night? But I feel like it is possible that our mind could be experiencing it like a movie, and when at least I feel like that's what could have happened to me. Maybe it seems like it was a long time. You might actually just experience a lot of the heavy key moments, and then your brain, just like with optical illusions, your brain will fill in a lot of this stuff in between and form its own images and feelings around the key scenes. Maybe
yeah,
that's
like
what I experienced.
DK, how many times you use the bathroom today, bro? Like, in the movies, you never see people cutting out to eat something, or
Exactly.
maybe you do, but less often you see people using the
Exactly.
bathrooms.
Right.
That's why I think
Exactly.
it's a good time to, like, check in with the mirror, check in with yourself. Like, I see you, like, I
It
feel
is.
you. How you doing? Like, what's going on? I got this pimple right here, my
It is.
unibrow going on thing.
I
But
never thought
hey,
about
man,
that because yeah, I didn't use the
life is a
bathroom in that
movie, right?
dream. Right.
Yeah, they say don't use the bathroom in your dream, or else, right? Hey,
Well, I
try it for
did once.
yourself. See what
I did once,
happens.
and yeah,
Did it
I
end
woke
badly
up.
for you in real life?
Yeah, I was young. I was really young, staying at a family member's house too. I was a little kid. I was so
Oh
embarrassed.
no. Oh,
Yep.
bro, I mean, it could always be worse. Trust me, I've done something worse, a lot
Oh,
more recently than that. Somebody
right.
said, dreams, perspective, transition to sweet.
That's
My
Cliff.
Spanish is
Don't.
poorly. He, yeah, he said, what's it say? Something about feelings, transition to dreams. You
Perspective,
something.
senses, transition, dreams.
Yeah, Sentidos is feelings. Transition, I'm imagining is transition, and then sueños is dreams. But Cliff, I'm sorry, I'm not that good at Spanish, bro. You're gonna have to speak English,
He
or
rewrote it in English
hopefully,
a few comments down.
perspective, senses, transition, dreams. I'm not sure what that means, um, but
He's Cliff is a poet.
okay. Hey, I love it. We were talking about that earlier. Everybody's a poet; they just don't know it.
There you
So
go.
DK, we've talked for 48 minutes, man. Maybe let's just take it back down to earth a little bit. And if people are wondering
Yeah.
about some beginner level tips, maybe you can share some words of wisdom, and even like advanced advice for people who might be a little further along.
Well, beginner tips. Keep a dream journal. I know you. I just shared that post that you made. Man, keep a dream journal. I sell some. I make custom dream journals on my shop. But you don't need that. But just one book that's dedicated to it. Not a random pad that you grab. I mean, it can be a random pad, but you need to declare that that pad is going to be your dream journal from that point forward. Don't just put a piece of paper next to your bed. That makes a huge difference subconsciously. It really locks it in when you know you have one thing that's dedicated to recording those dreams. That's like that was actually a game changer for me and remembering them consistently. So,
That's
and then
great advice. And honestly, go ahead.
I'm gonna be writing a ebook. I'm working on it. I've have some scattered parts of it so far on like just a simple practical approach on how to use a dream journal. You know, because I don't want to make a dream journal that's like a template that's laid out for people because it's too, you know, it's too different for everyone, you know, so subjective. One person might have a 10-page dream, you know, you might only have a 2-sentence dream. So I can't make a template for them, but I'm gonna make an ebook that's and then I'll give it out for free with like the dream journals, you know, on how to use one effectively. You'll be seeing that.
Cool. That is cool. I think it makes a difference using a physical notebook instead of a digital app. And like you said, dedicating a book to it is a great idea. Recently, I've thought about having a journal that I use for waking life and the dream world, and having like
Mhm.
my waking life memories on the left side, and my nighttime journeys on the right. And then maybe it would be easier to draw
Okay.
parallels because I often find that the two are related. So I'll let you know how
Almost
that
always.
little experiment goes. But
I love
recently,
that.
thank you. I actually, I was telling you a little bit about the group we're trying to start, a nonprofit, LDI. We just did our first newsletter, um, January 31st, so it just came out yesterday. I pinned it on the
Okay.
top of my page if anybody's curious. But what I shared within the newsletter, we had like, I think it was 8 sections. We had 8 different sections. First one was a recap of our launch video. Second was about us. Then we had a lucid dreaming tip, and then
Mhm.
there's an international conference in the Netherlands was number 4, and
Good stuff.
then
There's a lot of good stuff.
I think number 5 now is what I was trying to get to, is sharing research. And I actually shared some research that wasn't related to lucid dreaming, funny enough, but like there's only so much to go around. I thought I'd share something relevant but different. So I actually shared a study that's called "The Pen is Mightier Than the Keyboard," and it's all about how actually this Jeopardy champion from UCLA started a study to see if there was a difference between keeping notes on a laptop and keeping notes with a notebook. And so they
Yeah.
basically were allowed to take notes these 2 different ways, and after a week, they took a test. And the people who wrote it by hand were shown to have higher factual understanding and conceptual understanding. And so it makes you wonder, like, just by writing it down, you think differently about things. Whereas typing, you can almost just repeat what somebody has said verbatim. You're not really taking time to process because you can't physically write as fast as somebody can talk.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting because
It
it's
is.
changed my perspective on dream journaling. I think if you take the time to write it down, you're actually like making it important more so than you would be if you just use your phone like you do a million other things.
I agree. I agree with that, and that's same with my raps. When I write my songs, I always write it in a notebook. I don't type nothing in my phone. And same with my dreams. And I've never used the apps, but I wouldn't discourage it for people because I know some people don't use a dream journal strictly because of it feels inconvenient. They're like, I don't want to get up out of my bed and I don't want to sit up and throw my covers off and it wakes me up too much. So I feel like if anyone's apprehensive about recording their dreams, if an app helps you or if you just do an audio recording on your phone and it makes it easier for you to start tracking them and thinking about them, I would still say to do that. You know, I wouldn't like totally discourage that, but there's definitely something more powerful about the organic feeling of pen to paper for sure. And for a lot of reasons.
To be honest, last night I was recording, or this morning I was recording a journal entry, and I was using my phone because I've tried both.
Okay.
Most days I would say I do both, and it's
Yeah.
almost like I take notes and I go back and write it out. That to me is the golden, like, foolproof method. Um,
Yeah, that's the
but
best.
I was in my phone and I was like half asleep, didn't really want to open my eyes, but I wanted to get it down. and I
Right.
started swiping, just like I text and just like I type on my phone. I started swiping, but the words, it was mistranslating my words. And
Mm.
I went back and I was reading it and I was like, holy shit, like this is literally misremembering my dreams. I would never accidentally write the wrong word. It might
Right.
be hard to read, it might be illegible, but it won't literally replace the word.
That's interesting. I
And
never thought about that. Yeah.
swipe to text because everybody, I would say not everybody, but
I don't
you know, a
swipe to
lot of
text. I
people,
can't figure that shit out. It never works for me. But I
it
feel you.
doesn't work. It doesn't
I
work.
don't do it. I never have. But yeah.
Um, hey man, I miss the QWERTY keyboards with the razor. I used to have that shit. I didn't have to look. I'd know what I was typing.
Yep. Those were
You
the
know, with the
days, right?
QWERTY keyboards.
Of course.
You
That's what
know,
I grew up on.
one is ABC, two is
Right.
DEF, and you know, when you start learning alphanumerical language, it's you're getting too close to numerology. You know, the system. We got to put out some
Right.
new method to allow people to communicate.
It could be
Conspiracy
that,
theory talk.
or the teachers are just mad at the kids sitting there staring at them straight in the face while they're all having conversations with their hand under the desk. Because you
It's
can
the
do that.
teachers rose up against
It
us
was
to keep us down, to keep
yeah,
us educated.
that's
Cool,
seriously.
man. Great advice. What about for like more advanced lucid dreamers? Because I hear from a lot of people, you know, who've been doing it for a while. They don't even really need to keep a dream journal anymore.
Right.
I don't personally feel that way, but do you have anything that might resonate with people who've been doing this for a while?
Well, yes. I mean, as far as we want to take it, but yes, I also I talked to someone on my show who said that that he stopped writing them down because when he remembers them, it's something he'll never forget. I get that and I appreciate that, but I don't care how advanced you are or how good your memory is, you're not going to lock in those details. And like the most powerful revelations for me have come from reading back over years and years of dreams. You know, I read through 30, 40, 50 dreams over the course of however long. And as a body, I read that big chunk and you start to put pieces together and connect dots that you would never have realized otherwise, you know, because I got the pages right here and I'm like, hold on, let me flip back a few more pages and like cross-reference this. And it's like you start to find common themes that I really think you're gonna miss out on otherwise. So like advanced dream tracking, you know, and details and I'm sure you know too, like not just events and people and places, but feelings, you know, emotions. Make sure you write down your emotions. I know it's important to emphasize that because when you find a common theme in the emotions, sometimes that can, you know, that can reveal something deep about yourself that you might not have realized. And that's what I did, you know, and I found a lot of anger, you know, a lot of violence. And it was, you know, and it wasn't me being violent, but it was just a feeling I had a lot. You know, it wasn't violent things happening in the dreams, but it was an underlying feeling that I had. And yeah, I think that's, you know, that's like the most and then like deja vu. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not trying to go there. I know we ain't got much time, but like I would because I kept track of dreams over such a long period of time, there was times where I had deja vu, and the only reason I recognized it as a dream is because it's a dream that I had gone back and read in my journal 3, 4, or 5 times. Otherwise, it wouldn't have clicked for me in that moment. But I'm like, when I experienced that deja vu, I'm like, this is that exact dream that I had, and I was able to go back and flip back and read it to confirm that. And the person who I was in the kitchen with at the time, I was like, "Look, you know, I wrote this down years ago. It's dated. You know, it's an old crappy paper. You can tell like if you know. So for even just for physical validation, like I know,
That's awesome.
yeah, cool stuff.
I agree. It's like proof. You know, it sounds so crazy until you show somebody. Like, no, it's actually written down. It's etched in history in my mind. Like, there's
Yeah,
no doubt about it at that point. And
Yeah.
that's sort of how I felt about like having a premonition dream for the first time. But my theory about dreams is that they're like a simulation, and they take all of your past memories and the associations you have, and they project them forward into what could potentially happen. And it allows us to evolve and learn about our day, and to consolidate memory in a way that allows us to better act in the world. It's emotional based. It's how you think and feel, and what you'll do in the dream is almost pre-programming you for how you'd react in real life if you were put in a similar situation. Might not make exact sense
No, it
like
makes
that.
sense. It makes sense, but everything you just said could be flipped. And you could say that, reality is just an accumulation of our experiences and our perceptions. And maybe our reality is preparing us for those dreams, to grow in those dreams in other ways too, you know?
So here's one example I have of that. One morning I was half asleep, half awake, and I remembered having a conversation with my wife when she got home, and it was specifically about something I had fallen asleep working on my phone. And then
Mm.
I woke up to her actually arriving home
Right,
and asking
right,
me the exact same question about what I was working on, and responding with the exact same thing I had said in the dream just moments ago.
right, right,
And it was like a false awakening that made me think, like, am I dreaming now too, or like was that
right,
waking life and now I'm dreaming? Like it definitely warped my sense of time.
right.
And
And
it, like, it just makes me think, like, what if we can consciously control what we work on and how we think? I mean, a lot of the times my projects in the real world bleed into the dreams, and they sort of give me new insights and a different approach I might not have thought of if I was fully conscious.
for sure.
Makes me wonder if we should even be lucid, or if there's plenty of value just to be had in allowing the dream to unfold the way it does. Maybe the creme de la creme is if you can become lucid and still let the dream just go where it does. Just not try to change anything. Just, ride that wave and be a conscious observer through it all.
Well, wouldn't that be the same goal for life,
It is. Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, it is. Yep. I think that consciousness is a choice we make while we're awake, and we can increase the chances while we're asleep.
Right, but
But in that
too much
order.
too much consciousness or hyper consciousness, just like if you're constantly lucid dreaming, I feel like that can lead to exhaustion and paranoia maybe, or overstimulation in a lot of different ways. So there's something to just letting things go without trying to be so conscious about them in waking life and in dreams.
And
And
waking
then
life too.
like you
You're right,
said,
bro.
being conscious but still just allowing that stream to flow while you're conscious. Yeah, man,
That
there's
anger theme
definitely
you mentioned in dreams, that was paranoia for me for a long time.
it's
And,
common.
it always running from something, always trying to, get away from the cops even, and
Mhm.
it took me a while to, kind of get past that. Um, but there's a reflection there from your waking life consciousness. And interestingly enough, a lot of people who practice this blurring of realities, like with yoga, for example, like Tibetan dream yoga and yoga nidra, they say the more
Mhm.
conscious they are in waking life, the less they dream. And I think there's something
Interesting.
to that. It's like a shadow aspect. It's like the more you bring to light, the more you're shining darkness somewhere else.
But let's be
Um,
clear, it would be the more conscious they are in waking life, the less they remember their dreams.
Possibly. It's almost like the quality of rest changes is what it seems like. Like if they're, cerebral and emotional and in their head while they're awake, then they're more deep rest, asleep, recuperation, in their body. That's my very limited understanding of it. But I think there are different levels to sleep. It's not just, you don't dream. Maybe you do dream the entire time you're asleep and we just don't know it. But
No, we do know
uh
it. We do know it. They do know it. You dream throughout all phases of sleep. The
for
dreams are
sure.
The dreams are
But the
different.
entire time, the entire
They're,
time,
no, you do not dream the whole time. But
maybe you do.
right, and
Maybe you
you're
do,
right.
and we don't remember. That's what I
But
mean. Who
from what
knows?
we can tell, like there is a period where brain activity dies down to almost nothing. And that's stage one. But then that brain activity starts back up, in all types of in other different ways. So, but still, it's just been observed that people who are deprived of REM sleep, which is, when they're dreaming, you do dream in REM. Everyone dreams in REM. If you're deprived of REM sleep, it can be fatal. It leads to delusion and psychosis. So, and they've done, they've tested that, they weren't pretty experiments. It wasn't good outcomes. Would be considered inhumane these days. Just and also at the same time, if you only allow people to have REM, but you keep interrupting their slow wave sleep or their stage one sleep, they have a different reaction, but also eventually it will kill you. And I mean that they have experimented that. And I think when you deprive them of slow wave sleep, it's more that's when they tend to be more emotional, and it makes them more emotional, and that leads to like schizophrenia and stuff. So there's different aspects to both, but all are equally important. So I don't know, those people who say that the more conscious they become, the less they dream. I don't know about that. You know, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, and I see what you mean. But I haven't, as far as like from what I've heard about in the labs, I haven't seen or heard anything about that. But maybe they're not studying very conscious people.
Somebody said, "Damn, I'm gonna die." Yes, yes, you are. I hate to break it to you. I'm sorry. It's gonna happen someday. Just make your arrangements now while it's nice and fun and lighthearted, and
Yeah,
make that burden easier on your loved ones when you do go. Hopefully, you get to live a full life and enjoy your time while you have it, and cherish your loved ones. Make the memories that matter now. Don't wait to accomplish some superficial bucket list. You might never get the chance. Just start making plans now. Do what matters to you. Have fun, be kind to strangers, all that good stuff. So, hey, DK, we've been talking for over an hour, man, and I could probably
yeah.
go a lot longer than this, but I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and sharing all your wisdom. I appreciate the places where we agree and disagree and everything, and hopefully,
Yeah, man.
this is the start of many more conversations. But before we go, I want to open it up to the chat. I told everybody to drop their questions now, and we were kind of talking as we went. But there
Okay.
was a few more things I saw on here. Somebody said, "Could years of living a life be just?" Somebody said, I am gonna die." Look, if you're actually scared and you're worried about your sleep quality after what we just said, then take it as a wake up call. All right, sleep matters. If you didn't know that, it matters just as much as water and food and air. Those are pretty basic things that everybody knows they needs. But if you listen to our talk a little bit earlier on, you heard something about attention blindness. We probably take them for granted. You breathe even when you're not thinking about it, although we can take conscious control of our breath. You sleep when you get exhausted, and you literally will black out without thinking about it because you need rest. You get hungry enough, you'll probably eat whatever's around. My point is, sleep matters, and unless you make time for it, you could just be skating by with the bare minimum. You can go so much deeper. Just sleep in when you can. I advocate for regular sleep schedules and going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. But so many people are chronically deprived of sleep and dreams that I encourage your next day off, if that's the only time you get to sleep in, just get caught up on some rest. You can't make up for lost time that you weren't sleeping, but at least that day you can hit the reset button. And um, there's evidence to show even one night of sleep deprivation has days of negative consequences. So don't sweat wherever you're at. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Start with wherever you're at and start now. Just make a plan, because for me, when I take the mental work out of it and I think, all right, well, my goal is to wake up at this time and I know I need X amount of sleep, then I'm just reverse engineering the process.
Hmm.
Um, Really quickly, and maybe you can share what works for you, DK, because I know it's kind of funny, it's kind of not. Somebody thinks they're going to die, but for me, what helps me sleep when I'm struggling is trying to wake up at the same time every day, because I find if I force myself to wake up at an earlier hour, I'm going to feel tired earlier. And having
Yeah.
a toddler, I found that to be true for her too. If I let her sleep in, she's going to go to bed later. So
Right.
wake up earlier, try to stick to the same time every day. Plan it so that even when you're not at work or school or whatever you've got going on, you can still wake up at that time. And your body will start to align with that schedule so that you'll feel tired when it's appropriate, and you can start to, you know, plan your rest accordingly. Um, do you have any thoughts about what somebody should do if they're struggling, I guess, with,
We
I
would
don't know.
need another hour for that, but because there's so much, and there's really so many ways to approach that. Whether it's diet, and then we could get into like circadian rhythms and natural cycles, and there's even some evidence behind different blood types being prone, or even like your genetics can kind of tune you towards different types of circadian rhythms. But like, well, I mean, if I really wanted to give someone a tip on how to sleep, because like I said, I've never had trouble sleeping, and it's only because I can induce it for myself, even in situations like where most people wouldn't be able to sleep. A lot of times growing up as a kid, like I had a lot of music being played in the other room, very loud, every night when I was trying to sleep for school. So and I shared a video once about it, but the one trick that always works for me is to emulate sleep breathing. And a lot of people don't recognize how they breathe when they're sleeping, but once you do, you'll realize it. It'll click for you. You'll, even if you catch yourself when you're starting to doze off, in that hypnagogic state, when you're just starting to fall asleep, if you try to just be conscious, just notice how you're breathing when you're really settling, or if you're watching a movie and you're really into it and you're zoned out and you're calm, your heart's at a very low rate. Notice how your breath is going, and I've talked about it before, but it's long, slow exhales and then quick, short inhales. And if you notice, that's how people breathe when they're sleeping. That's what a snoring pattern sounds like when someone's in deep sleep. So if you start, it's almost like it's just like a kickstart. So, it's like your body, your brain pattern will start to match the rhythm of your heart, which is going to be syncopated with your breathing. So kickstart it with the breathing. I know it's a very long-winded way to say practice breathing exercises, but that one specifically for sleep.
That's a really good answer. And maybe it relates to music. I've always heard the beats per minute of the music you're listening to affects your heartbeat. So if
For
you want to
sure.
have, kind of relax and synchronize your breath with your heart, listen to some relaxing music to wind down. It's a great way to incorporate that into your evening routine. Um,
For sure.
Great, man. That's really cool. Actually, I did it while I was listening to you, and I did a really long, deep exhale through my nostrils, and then I did a
Well,
quick, short inhale, and I literally the first thing that came to mind was pretending to be asleep when I was a kid. I was like, that
right.
is like if I were faking asleep right now, I would do something like that. I would go like,
Yep. Yep.
it just
You got
it
it.
made me feel a little relaxed just doing it. So I'm gonna try that,
Hmm.
and actually, it makes we've
Crazy.
got a couple questions in there. But
Yeah, go ahead.
you how do you induce like hypnagogic imagery? Because when I was younger, I used to really be able to tap into that. Like I would just
Hmm.
lay down, and I guess my mind was so active, I would just start seeing these random images. And I remember when I was younger, they would really stand out to me. Our animals are just going crazy in the background. I got my cat
Yeah.
jumping on shelves 3 things high, your dog behind. Uh,
Yeah, he needs to go out. I'm gonna take him as soon as
love
we're
the
done.
animals, but yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. If you have any advice on
I
inducing
do.
hypnagogic imagery, because I used to really have vivid, almost colorful imagery.
Mhm.
And now it seems like I just black out when I go to sleep. And there's times where I get minor visualizations, but nothing like I recall from the past. So yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like some help with that.
One straightforward, and I've made like a series of videos on visualization tips, and I think this was like tip number 2 or something. But the one straightforward, easy, practical thing you can do is look at a light, like look at a light bulb, and then close your eyes and focus on the memory of that light. You know, you'll see it once you close your eyes. That's called phosphenes, and that's the memory of light when you close your eyes. And what I would do when I was a kid is, you know, no, if you close your eyes at any time, you can see these phosphenes, these memory of lights. It might be, you know, different patterns, or it might be one glowing orb or whatever it might be. If you try to manipulate these things, you'll notice that they react to your intention. So, and if sometimes if I'm trying to do it and it doesn't work, I'll just close my eyes and rub my eyelids real gently a little bit, and it'll start to move this memory of light that you see on the inside of your eyelids, and then you know, stop rubbing them and just let them keep swirling and keep moving. And it can be like a kaleidoscope effect, or it can be like a growing and a shrinking. And you know, you or even if you can't manipulate the movement of them, try to change the colors of them. You know, focus on one part that looks like a bright yellow or a white and try to change it to a light blue or a green or something. You know, and then you can start to, and the more you do this, I did this every night for a long time, eventually you could start to shape these into images. And sometimes it's not even intentionally. Sometimes I notice that I fall asleep, and these light memories just kind of swirl into scenes. You know, they just turn into, from vague blurry scenes into more clear vivid scenes, for me personally. And I've never seen that or read that, and I don't know where, like, I'm not sure if other people even do it or can do it, but I know it always worked for me.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'll definitely explore exerting a bit of intentional will on the lights. You said they're called phosphenes.
Phosphenes, yup,
Memory of
PHOS.
light impressions. Okay, I'm gonna look into that a little bit. Thank you. We did
Thank
have a
you.
question actually. It says, "Hi, what about sleeping too much? I could sleep for even 10 hours, no matter if it's night or day." And I'll let you think
Absolutely.
about
What
that
up?
for a minute, DK. What my advice for you would be that 10 hours is on the long side. So I would say that sleeping too much is a thing, just like sleeping not enough is a thing, because what it's doing is throwing off your balance. And proper sleep is balanced by your activity level. So in
Mhm.
order to really get good quality rest, you should have, light to moderate exercise a few times a week. Make sure you're eating healthy, staying hydrated, mental health, all the obvious stuff everybody knows you need to do to take care of yourself. But one thing I like to advocate for, a lot of people take for granted, and we mentioned a little bit about artificial lights earlier, is light exposure. When you align yourself with natural rhythms like the rising sun and the setting moon, what you're
Mhm.
really doing is exposing yourself to the best kind of light, because even the brightest retail lights can't compete with natural sunlight. You can't even wear sunglasses like I'm doing now outside and get the right type of sun rays into your eyes that activate the chemicals in your brain to tell you it's time to wake up and get going. That's one of the
Right.
signals I like to employ as early in the day as possible. So if you're sleeping 10 hours, you may be sleeping too late in the day and getting light exposure later in the afternoon, for example. And what that's doing is giving you a cortisol spike, like a shock of adrenaline almost, later in the
Right.
day. It's keeping you up later at night. Now you're fighting your natural rhythm instead of aligning with it and perpetuating this cycle of feeling tired, even though you think you should be rested because you've slept enough.
That is so on point. That
So
is
yeah,
so on
man,
point.
it's honestly, it took a lot of research to get to that point. And when I say this is me speaking my experience, that's what helps me. It's different for
Mhm.
everybody, and I love, like, true dreamers know the subjective nature of reality. They always like hit it with the disclaimer, from my experience, what I've learned, what I've read, what I've seen, that's the best way to be, because it is different for everybody. And I might say one thing and it fall on deaf ears, and you say it in a different way and it resonate with somebody. But pay attention to the light exposure. And just like you want to get sunlight bright and early in the day, you want to try to limit screen time and dim your lights in the house. Maybe I love lighting candles and winding down. I know it's hard to do. Trust me, I get it. I got a toddler. I can't like let her run around in the dark. You know what I mean? But if I can,
Right.
dim the lights, light a few candles, and chill the vibe. And your eyes adjust. Your eyes adjust. Spend some time in the dark. It'll be okay. Um,
I
10
agree.
hours seems like a lot, but DK, yeah. And anything else to add to that question? And we'll get out of here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, we could go on forever. Everything you said is so on point. I don't really have much else to add. Like you said, physical exercise, light patterns. But then one issue is that I know Dee Dee, and I believe she's coming. She's tuning in from Romania. And what if you live in an area that doesn't have much sunlight, man? What if it's tough? What if there's not, enough light in the day to get the proper amount? Do you think that the people on a massive
One thing,
scale are suffering from that?
some places, yes. I think most of the world,
It's
no.
tough.
Um, I would say it makes me think of something I heard that even on a cloudy day, you might think you're not getting, sun, but you are still, if you could measure it, I forget the device that measures light rays, photoreceptors
Right,
or something.
right.
It A cloudy day is still better than the brightest retail lights. So
It
really, it's
is.
just a matter of like I believe it's like 15 to 30 minutes early in the day. It's not a lot of time, and most places in the world get that much sunlight. Um, but
Yeah,
every situation is different. In that case, it might be worth supplementing with a nice, warm, bright, artificial light that puts out some real heat. Because there's technology that can help with that. And there's other things you can do to send signals to your brain to wake up earlier in the day if you're trying to shift your sleep schedule. Light, temperature, eating earlier in the day, your activity
wow.
level, all those things determine when it's time to be up and active. Um,
Temperature is a big one.
so yeah, man. I'm
All right.
actually. You said temperature. Yep,
That's a big one. That's a
temperature. Just
big
like
one.
light, right? The sun comes out, it's gonna get warmer, right?
Yeah. That's a major
Another
one.
thing I do to help me is I'll take a cold shower to wake up in the morning,
Hmm.
and I'll take a warm shower to wind down at night, and
Right.
that helps me wake up. And you might think, well, a cold shower, you're supposed to be warming up during the day, but it actually has this inverse effect that when you
Because your
lower your
core
core
temperature.
body temperature with the water, it actually it helps with thermal regulation by your blood pumping. And when you get out, you'll start to warm up. Same way when you take a warm shower at night, you're going to cool your extremities down.
Your body
So it's
will
funny
adjust.
how it works backwards.
Yeah.
If you didn't know better, you might do the opposite thing.
Right.
But you know how you feel.
Drinking hot tea on a cold day will, in the long run, make you colder. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Counterintuitive. A lot of people say that with alcohol, right? Oh, I
Right.
gotta warm up, so I'm gonna drink alcohol. No, that
No,
could literally kill
the
you
opposite.
if you were
Yeah.
freezing to death.
Right. Right.
Yep.
That's a whole
Cool,
nother
man. It
conversation.
sounds like we could go on and on and on, but we gotta leave some stuff for next time. Somebody said
Yeah.
thank you in the chat. Thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, definitely let us know in the comments somewhere. DK, I really enjoyed our talk, man. Hopefully, we'll get to do it
Me
again
too.
sometime. You have anything else to add before we get out of here? Maybe just tell people what you're working on and where to find you if they want to stay in touch.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook is the place. Facebook and YouTube, DK Dreamkeeper on all platforms. And I really enjoyed this, man. It's been great, and we will do it again. We got a lot more to talk about.
Cool, man. All right, I'll hit you up for sure. Hopefully, we'll hop on a freestyle next time, and we'll
Cool.
bless the audience with our lyrics or something. Josh, you can play the guitar. We'll do an acoustic beat. Um, all right,
That
but we
sounds
got
good.
yeah we got to work on my acoustics down here in the the musty basement too.
Me too.
Appreciate you, brother.
You
Don't be a
too, man.
stranger. We'll link up soon. Hopefully, I'll get to hop over on your show. I know you do dream sessions over there too, and I'm loving
Yes,
everything I
we
see from you. So, yeah, we'll link up later. Okay.
Cool,
For
homie.
everybody else
Thank you.
watching out there, thank you, man. Sweet dreams and
Peace
peace.
out, everyone. Later, man.